Yeah, I got you. Something happened. I don't know what it was, but God is saying this is a word for the people and the kingdom. If you go with me to Job 13 and 15, it's a familiar word, but I may go a little different direction. But just stay with me. Not a long verse, just one verse. And it reads, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. But there's a part B to that. But I will maintain my own ways before him. And before you have your seat, I want to read the amplifier of that. It says, even though he killed me, I will hope in him. Nevertheless, I will argue my ways to his face. You may have your seats. We all know the familiar passage of, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. And we know the story of Job and what he went through. But what caught my attention was that second part where he said that, nevertheless, will I argue my ways to his face. And I began to think about some things and how we handle things when they take place in our lives. And I want you to write this title down because it's very important. And it's called Maintain Your Integrity. When I think about the story of Job, we all want to think about Job got double. And we all can somewhat comprehend to what he went through. But, you know, when I go back and I read, and I want to talk about his character, and this is not a character that he came up with. This is what God said about him. And Job 1 and 8 says this. The Lord says to Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God, and escheweth evil. What we have to realize, and I didn't catch this morning, is that God's word cannot return void. So he spoke this about Job, and it manifested itself in Job. But what I really want to deal with, because I've noticed that a lot of people say, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. We need to know what slaying really means. And I took the definition, and it's saying to put to death, to kill, to slay. That means to take a life. And when you're walking around here saying, though he slay me, yet will I trust him, half of us not even going through nothing. And I'm going to keep this real because this is something that I had to deal with them. We know the story. First thing, Satan comes and he says, yeah, you got this hedge of fence around here. You protecting Job. So that's why he served you. I'm asking you a question. Do God have a confidence in you that if he sends a trial, will you be steadfast? So he sends the first thing, and we've talked about this. I think we talked about this for a while. The first thing he touches is his finances. I come to realize that something about human beings when it comes to finances, we tend to lose all sight of anything else. We feel like we broke our whole world upside down. We lose our job, we feel like we can't get another one. We lose our business, goes under, we feel like we can't build it back up. But what I need everybody to realize is that God is able, even in your finances. I look at Job, and I mean, Job lost a lot. Bible speaks that he was one of the richest men on the east side at that time being. So he didn't lose a job. He didn't lose a business for say. He lost his whole finances at one time. Some of us lose a job, and because we can't find it in a month, we panic. Another thing I kind of realize, some of our finances are our problems. They're our debts. And let's keep it real. We have found ourselves in a place where God's word says, I will supply your need. But we have allowed our wants to exceed that need. So when you look into God and falling apart about your finances, you need to look to yourself, what you have done. The next thing that was taken from him was his children. And this is something that touched me and that I had to deal with some things. Some of us has physically lost children, and I couldn't imagine it. losing them all at one time. And God dealt with me, and he said to me, he says, listen, there comes a time where physical death will take place. We all know that, right? It'll take place. And sometimes it may be your child. But I want to encourage somebody today that you still can make it. I'm living evidence. Life is not over because you lose a child. Job lost 10. Secondly, I want to deal with not so much as a physical death, but a lot of us deal with spiritual death of our children because we raised our children in church, took them to church, showed them the way, and yet they're going another way. So, and I started to realize something. Some of us, and I'm going to do a quick sidebar, some of us are either beginning to compromise who we are to reach them. Today I say no more. Don't compromise who you are to reach them. When they leave, you have to trust God that they'll come back. I have a testimony sitting before me. Was raised in church, decided not to be in church anymore. But to God be the glory, he called him back, and now he's a pastor. That's my testimony I walk in when I look at my sons. We need to realize, though, even in the midst of these trials that come our way, even through our children, because see, that was not the case with Job. Job just lost his children. They died. Job felt like he did nothing wrong. Why are these things coming against him? And that's how we feel sometimes. Children are not acting right. Children are sick. Children going through. And we're trying to figure out how to reach them. Oh, Lord, I'm praying for them. And they're not getting healed. They're not getting delivered. What is going on? God is saying, just like he's still in control. I'm coming to talk to the church because we've been distracted by these things. Stay focused. It was said last week. Stay focused. Don't allow these things to distract you because that's what they're meant to do. Then there comes a point of separation. Hear me and hear me good. Some of us, our children, have decided to separate from us. And when I say separate, they go in their own life and they don't want to deal with us because we're being who we are. Let them continue to pray. But sometimes separation is good. If it's a distraction, you need to cut it off. Whether it be your mama, daddy, child, whoever it be. If it's distracting you from doing what God has called you to do, cut it off. Separate. And what's funny to me is that even when he came and he touched his finances, which first thing we would all fell apart on the finances part. But then come and take all my children. All my children. When I say all my children, I mean all 10, not one, not two, because some of us dealt with one loss. All 10 of his children at one time. We couldn't even process that if we had to. But yet he stood. He stood and maintained his integrity. What's so funny to me is that wasn't enough for Satan because he couldn't break him. Hear me. Don't let him break you. Don't let him break you. Stand still. Stand firm in who you are. So it comes the second meeting. He comes and he tells him in Job 2 and 3, he says, and the Lord said, this is the Lord speaking unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil, and has still he hold fast his integrity, although thou movest against him to destroy him without cause. Even God knew Job have done nothing to receive this. Some of us has done nothing to receive what's going on in our lives. Because God trusts who you are, this thing is happening. We are going to go through trials. We're going to go through tribulations. But I come to encourage you, maintain your integrity, because God has already spoke who you are. Don't go left, don't go right for the things that happen. And I come to realize in the midst, because I've dealt with finances trouble, I've dealt with loss of my children both ways, physical and spiritual. But then it comes the fact, his health. So now I don't touch everything. Now I'm going to touch his health. And I'm not quite sure. It says that boils were given to him from the top of his head to the soles of his feet. But what's good for me, I'm in the medical field. And I watch people come in with one and they dying because of the pain that it impacts. Because what it is a pocket of pus that builds up, and it's like pushing up against your skin, and it's very painful. And this thing was covering him from the top of the head to the sole of his feet. I'm going to keep it real up in him. Because the little things that we going through, we don't even know the pain that he went through. This thing comes physical, and I can really say that it can be painful, and it can tend to not just be physical anymore, it becomes to be mental. So now he in your mind because of the pain you're going through. And we all know once he get in that mind, here comes the battle. So I can imagine what Job was going through. I'm saying to myself, okay, now you got this physical pain. Then you got this mental pain. And the mental pain is so strange because even though you are fighting with all you got to believe and have faith that God is able to do it, to heal you in the midst of what's going on, but yet he has not come and done it yet. So now comes the wavering of your faith to still believe that he still can heal you. But time is going on, and time is continually going on, and Job is still not healed. I'm going to walk this thing. A lot of us are trying to figure out what is God doing right now in this season with America. I'll say this to you. Just like he knew about Job, he knows what's going on around here. Job's physical point put him to a point where mentally he could not function. If anybody's ever been in pain, true pain, I'm talking about pain, mentally you can't function for some reason. I can't really explain it. But I think more of the physical is hard, but the mental is more harder. And then you got to think about this thing. I'm going to go back because even when you're thinking about mentally trying to maintain and believe that God is able, you got to then believe that God is going to heal you. And to believe that he's going to heal you, you have to have faith. You have to have that faith. But then comes a turn where now I'm going through, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, and I don't even know how to deal with this thing. And now I got my wife on the other side of me, and she talking about curse God and just die. And now even the person that's the closest to me is not with me. I'm in the roughest time I could ever be in. And the one person I need to be by my side is abandoning me. Doesn't have faith in me. Doesn't have faith in who God is. I think he makes it clear. He says, you know, who are we? We can take the blessings of God, but we can't take the trials of God. And I kind of realized that even in the midst of us going through, it's going to be some time where we're going to be left by ourselves to weather the storm. I say to you, it's going to be times you're going to be left by yourself to weather the storm, but God is still there. He's still there. Because sometimes you need to just be just with him. I think about this story, and we tell it so much till I don't think we really realize what's going on. And when I began to do this message, it didn't really make sense to me until I realized something. America, we're in a trial. We are in a trial. I know you can't see it because we all can respond to this individually. Finances been jacked up. Been pretty bad for us financially. We're trying to come out and learn how to come out. We've had loss. We've physically been, if it's not us, it's family that's been sick. But what I do realize is, as a corporate body, we have to be able to maintain our integrity. I've looked and I paid attention to a lot of media stuff, and we need to realize we are in the last days. There's no time for your pride to take over. What you got to say is not always going to matter. Don't taunt your character. Too close to do it. You might not have enough time to repent. I come, and sometimes you want to do a message the way you want to do it. And then God says, no, warn my people. I am soon to come. Study to be quiet. Watch your words you speak. Watch the words you speak. Do not taunt your character. God has spoken great things about us. He really has. But the little things that are happening right now is making us not maintain our integrity. This world is not promised to us. Come on, Holy Ghost. We have a kingdom. And God is saying, warn my people. Don't worry about who's president. Stop stressing about the government. Know that I know what's going on. I'll say this because I had a dream and Pastor brought it back up, and God is saying, you know what? Tell the people. Revelation 6 is going to take place, people. We cannot dwell on the things that are happening here. We have to prepare. Preparing is having that faith that God's word is going to stand. But God is with us. And if he be us, who can be against us? There's going to come a time that we're going to have a real Job moment. We are. There are going to be some hard times. There are. But if you prepare, you can maintain your integrity. You can maintain what's about to take place. I can honestly say when I get up here sometime, I'll be saying, why I just can't give a word and just sit down. But God is saying it's not time just to be given a word. The people need to be warned. The people need to be told. Because I know sometimes I get upset too, and I want to say, and it's right. It's right what I'm saying. But a lot of times, I think about Christ, and I tell myself constantly now, what would Christ do? What would he do? Even in the midst of his trial in the Garden of Gethsemane. And he knew he didn't deserve to die. He didn't deserve it. And the people didn't even want it. They like, we don't care. We don't know he the Savior. So now my thing is, and that's how we get, I don't want to do this no more. But the God in him say, not my will, but thy will. Let this cup pass me by. Some of us are looking for the cup of what's taking place in the world, in America right now, to hurry up and go past. Speed on past 4 years. But I'll tell you, let them drag out. Let them drag out. And prepare within them 4 years. Job got double for his trouble. And he did. But I want to say something. That second part says he will maintain his ways before him. That means that he was pleading his case with God. Some of us now are pleading our case to God about who's the president. God, how could you do this? Why would you let him get there? You know, why is this going on? Pleading your case. And you know what God said to him? It's over in 38. He says, where were you when I made the foundation? Where were you? So while we were out here complaining about who president and what the government doing, where were you when God made the foundation? He's allowing this to take place. And right now I'm saying to every saint, keep praying. Maintain your integrity. God knew all this was going to take place. And guess what? There are going to be financial things that are going to happen. We already know it's false prophets already out here speaking. Death has taken place. Every time you look around, a death here, death there. It's going every week right now. So 2 is already open too. There are more deaths taking place now. I have never, ever, this is unbelievable, taking place right now than I've ever seen in my lifetime. I feel like we in war right here on the land. But I say this to you is that don't allow the things that are happening right now to taunt your character. Maintain your integrity. Tell yourself, what would Christ do in the midst of all this? A lot of us are not happy about what's going on. But God said, tell my people, just trust me. Trust me. And even when God told Job that, his whole demeanor changed because he realized something that he had already spoken. Who are we that God can bless us, but we can't take the things of the trials that are coming to us? He spoke that earlier, but he lost his way, and that's what we do sometimes. We say one thing, and as things get worse, we begin to say something different until God wakes us up and says, listen, where were you when I formed the foundation? Now, we know it's more to that because he spoke more about different things. But I want to say to us, while we worried about what's going on in this world and what's going on within the government, and I'm going to implant this in you, where were you when God formed the foundation? We all got something we want to say. We all got our opinion. But do you all trust God in the midst of what's going on? In the end of that story, it says that Job prayed for his friends. And it says that he got double. But I tell you, we're not going to get double. We're getting kingdom. These things have to come to pass to get to what God has promised us. I don't know what's going on. Everybody forgetting what Revelation reads. That word not going to return void. It's going to manifest just what God said. And guess what? We're going to be raptured up. And we're going to be reigning with Jesus. And if you don't remember nothing else about this message, know that if you maintain your integrity, you will reign with Christ. Thank you.